Hello, it's Friday. As I told you last week, this week I'm starting at 11 because I'm working on a massive staining a bunch of wood project that I need to do in the morning and the evening. So the morning shift has to be done before the streams. I can't start at 10, so I'm starting at 11, and now it's 11, and almost. It's 10:59, so I'm starting. So we'll see how this is going to go, see if there's any more disasters or near disasters. These parts got painted yesterday. They got painted this insignia white, which turns out to be, according to the can, a navy color. I'm not sure for what, but it is, and so that seems appropriate for that. And they look okay. This panel, is done. So this will be installed somewhere on the bridge, and then I'll put it here in the done so far box. Oh yeah, you get to see this. This is done, the captain's command station with the chair, and all the little buttons and lights and stuff, and this. Yeah, it came out okay. Eventually, after redoing it like twice. So it's adequate. These are parts for the stairs, which at some point I can go ahead and assemble, depending on how things go today. One of the things I can do is get the circle back, which is on a piece of cardboard over there. There, I had to look for it. This gets attached, and then these are steps, and they get attached to the circle, so I could do that sometime. This is the main viewing screen, and you can see this brownish area here that's taped off, because I was trying to get the frame to be white, and I'll see how that turned out. I hope it turned out okay. We'll find out by taking the tape off. And then this is the elevator, and I'm going to paint the elevator doors blue. So I'm going to be running some tape down these edges, although they look pretty good the way they are. I don't know, maybe this will be a bad idea doing that, or maybe it'll be out just fine. I don't know. Let's see. And under this piece of tape, I'll take that off right away. Under this piece of tape is a strip of the gray color that I'm using. The gray color I'm using on the display panels. The second coat needs to go on, but then I need to paint the rims, the frames inside and out, which will be arduous and a pain in the butt, but it has to be done. So I'm going to test different colors on there to see which ones work. Okay, so I want to leave the blue tape on here to protect the back, because doors will get sprayed. This is something I need. I'll need to put this on there later. Okay, well, I guess if this worked, then I just need to paint these little bits down here. And then this will be done, and I can put this in the pretty much done box as well. And I still don't have my big chat screen on, so I'll kind of look up now and then, see if anything's going on. But it's going to be kind of hit or miss there, I guess. Well, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, this will be okay. It'll be just fine. At least, for this model. So, I guess maybe I'll go ahead and paint these. If we look at the cover here, they're kind of painted yellows and oranges, yellows and reds, kind of. I don't know why, and they're glowing. It's like it's radiating all over the place. It looks dangerous, really. But, that's what the box top says. So I guess I'll get some yellows out and paint, put some of that on and see how it turns out. This is just annoying. Why not? Why not try that? The worst that can happen is that it goes bad. And then I have to repaint it again. I don't want to do that particularly. But, so there's deep yellow. Where do my yellows and oranges go? No, they're up there. Huh. Yeah, I'm looking in the wrong place. Sun yellow, that should be good. Light orange, maybe. Orange fire, that should be nice. I think I'll use these. I don't think I'll use light orange. I think I'll use these colors. See how it goes. I'm going to need my head magnifiers and a teeny brush. Yeah, I'm just hesitating. Okay, well, let's put some orange fire on. Let's start with orange fire. After, years, it feels like years of doing this, probably has been years of doing this. I'm just running out of things to say in my monologue. And, yeah, so it's been kind of quiet this week because, starting late, that's one thing. That gives me, you'd think that would be actually helpful. That there would be less time that needed to be filled in with something, like saying stuff, like I'm doing now, just making words. This is maybe what I should do. I should, I could get one of these AI things, right? Just say, hey, AI thing. Here's a sample of my voice. Here's several samples of my voice. I want you to come up with an interesting dialogue related to this topic, whatever the topic would be. Make it, when I go from 10 until 2, make it 3 hours long. Don't repeat anything. Okay? That's what I want you to do. So do that, and do that 3 times a week. And then I could just, like have that be running in the background. AI can do that, right? Isn't that what it's for? That kind of thing. So maybe I could tell it something like, hey, you AI thing, come up with a 3-hour long monologue about Mr. Ed. Make sure it's entertaining. Keep it PG. I don't know if it would know what PG is. You'd probably think that I wanted it to be pregnant. You might call it artificial intelligence, but it's really not very smart. So we've been experimenting with AI as part of the warm-ups, actually known as a feature for our Patreons. Go to patreon.com/Dyson Dungeons. You could be one. Okay. But our patrons, I don't know. It's Patreon, maybe they are Patreons. Whatever you guys are. You can go to the Patreon site and you can view and listen to our experiments, our interaction with the AI thing, one of the chatbot things. We ask it to do something for us, like produce, tell us about one of the characters maybe, or write a sonnet about Dyson Dungeons or things like that, right? And it's usually pretty lame. The stuff it comes up with is pretty sad, and we make fun of it. But recently we've been asking it to do something like, tell us about our characters, and it made stuff up. About a third of what it came up with was nothing at all. It was just words. It just used words to fill in the space. And about some of it is actually, real, like it got our name right maybe, or our character type. But more than a third of it really was just made up. It was a hallucination. It was BS. It was stuff that it was very specific about it. It gave us like episode numbers and names of other characters and things that supposedly happened that never happened. And it didn't even just tell us about things that supposedly happened like in the show. It told us about things that the players, like me, did. Okay? That we didn't do. It was actually kind of disturbing. I mean, it's one thing when you're dealing with like fictional characters, like the characters we play in our game, okay? And you say that in, episode 111, this thing happened, and it didn't. That isn't at all what happened in episode 111. And you can kind of laugh about that and go, oh, silly AI, you got that wrong. But when it says that I, Greg, did this thing, in real life did this thing, and it was a thing that I never did, then it becomes actually it got kind of disturbing. But that never happened. And you just said it did. And you even gave like a date. A date and a location. And it's like, no, that wasn't real. It's totally made that up. And you go, how could you just have just made this up? And so we almost had so as we were producing that stream, we had to point out that never happened. That never happened. That never happened. The AI thing is just totally fabricating these things that never happened. I mean, and what if it's doing that for things that really matter? Okay? Not just, someone who's being a character in a show or something like that. I think I went light yellow. I think there's a light yellow here. Lemon yellow, that's a good color. I'm going to try to differentiate it from that yellow. I wonder if there's one or two. Orange. There's like a amaranth. I think I might do like one or two of these in amaranth. Well, let me see if it's lemon yellow. See if this is light enough to be able to see the difference between that and the other yellow. Yeah, it's a pretty light yellow. It's a good, that might be a good color. So yeah, I mean, I can describe this to you, but we only have, you have to be a patron to get access to it. It might be worth it just to experience it. It's like, what the heck? where did this come from? How could it just create events involving real people? It did. Real people. And it's just a lie. Yeah, I think a couple. I don't know if I want to overdo the colors. Yeah, I decided against it. I'm just going to make another one of these orange guys. I think that'll be enough. It could end up just looking way too busy. No, I think that looks okay. It doesn't glow all the way around. I mean, it's not like the box top where it's, where the lights are so bright that they're creating a glow all around it. They're irradiating the area. But, it's the same sort of look. I'm satisfied with how that turned out. Now I got like 6 colors I get to put away. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to, for this moment at least, match my, do my New Year's resolution and, keep my workbench sort of clear by putting these paints away. So I'm going to stand up here and put paints away. I'm putting them into a really cool thing that Alexis made. It is a bespoke 3D printed paint holder that I showed on this stream a long time ago, and I haven't since, but maybe I will again sometime. I don't know. Belch. That was unpleasant. Sorry about that. No, I didn't break it. The chair is supposed to be just sits on there and it swivels. I'm just knocking stuff over. Yeah, I'm gonna have to install these stairs just to make room in the box. So with this on there, assuming I'll try not to touch it, I can take this tape off. This was just sort of protecting the back of it, which I'm leaving the raw plastic. The back of it I'm just leaving unpainted. And I taped it so I didn't get paint all over it. If I get paint on it, I'll just sand the paint off. I just used regular painter tape for this because there's no paint on it. I like to use the good masking tape over the paint because the good masking tape doesn't take the paint off. The cheap masking tape might. Okay, so there's the command seat thing that goes on the circle that's over there. I can install that. I could actually even put the giant decal on this. There's a decal that goes here. Then it would be totally done. So these are things I can still do. There's a decal that goes on this also. Is that at some point I can put the decals on these little pieces. And then they'll be completely finished. And I can install the stairs on the circle as well as that, and then cover up the circle because then we have things that need to be covered. So, yeah, I decided to paint the elevator doors blue. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. It's a really nice blue. Let's see if I can find a sample of it. I could just leave them like that. I mean, the painting came out okay. And I'm starting to do this more, getting up and just sort of wandering around. Yeah, why not? I can do that. I'm old. No, I don't have it. Yeah, this is it's light blue. It's like that kind of color. I think it would be okay. If it doesn't look good, then I'll just repaint it, I guess. This light ghost gray is kind of nice too. I wonder, have I used that for anything? Where did my sample chart go? I'm gonna just sample these before I use them. I might use the light ghost gray. I thought for sure, I know for sure that I had tested them, to see what they would really look like. And I don't know if I didn't keep. I'm just gonna wander around again. Here I am wandering. I wonder if I just tossed it because I didn't think I needed it anymore. Okay, that was kind of fun. What I was doing was I was being like, I'm an old guy. I'm just going to get up and wander around. That just became kind of a fun thing to do. Okay. Well, this tape is all kind of falling off. When it comes time to paint this, which will happen in our lifetime, I'm hoping, the metallic color, the dark metallic color that I used for the control panel for the navigation thing, when I do that, I'm probably going to have to retape this. It's all just falling off. I'm just going to take the tape off because I thought it would hold and it's not. It's falling off and it's not going to do the job anyway. When it comes time to actually doing the job that needs to be done, it's not doing it. So it's just, at this point, it's just kind of in the way. I'm not going to be putting any spray paint on those bits, these bits, for quite a while anyway, because I have to second coat the gray and then paint the frames. And then after I paint the frames, I'll have to come back and do touch up with the gray where I got the frame paint on it. And then I'll have to do frame paint touch up on the gray where I got the gray on the frame paint when I was fixing, you've seen that. It just goes back and forth. Kind of oscillates between one color and the other until the result is an acceptable line. This should always be easy, and it never is. It's like all I need to do is get the tape right on that line there. Which becomes harder to do because the lighting just isn't very good. You'd think all you need to do is like push it up against the edge, right? But it doesn't work that way. I don't know why not. Yeah, I have to put these on. I can't see well enough in the light that I've got, but it looks like it's like a fraction of a millimeter. That works better with these on. And after pulling it back on and off a couple of times, eventually it gets done. Yay. And I'll tape over the rest of that. It looks like it's actually okay, just like that, huh? That was kind of a shock. So if that tape does what it's supposed to do, there'll be a nice clean line there. And the elevator door will be either blue or ghost gray, depending what I end up using. And the rest of it will stay this color. What have I got there? Brush bristle? Some sort of hair. And try not to lift that tape up. And that would be the easiest thing. But then I have to get it back in place just right. No. We don't want that to end up adhering to the paint. There's just always something. Seriously, just always something. Okay, back to what I was doing before that happened. And I actually have to tape the back side because spray paint just gets everywhere. don't forget across the top here, these need to be not painted. So I think if you were to watch it like a real how-to, I don't need these on for this, like a real how-to show, and they showed you all the stuff that needed to be done, I think you would find that masking, okay, in preparation for painting, it just does take like all the time. All the time. You know, you spend all this time putting masking tape on, and then you spray a little bit with an airbrush if you're good at it. And then you take the tape off, and you would have spent 10 times more time doing this masking stuff than you would actually doing any painting. And I'd probably take longer than they would, you know, because I'm just slow at stuff. You know, even if I knew what I was doing, which I don't, which isn't always the case. Even if I knew what I was doing, it would still take a while because I'm just slow at stuff. And it's just so it is. And, yeah, slow. Okay, I just make sure that that's sealed before I paint it, and then test these two colors and make a decision about which color is going to get painted which. So there, that's that. There I am, keeping my work surface clear by, and I just tossed that. That was just not good. Yeah, where did my piece of, there it is. Okay. This is the gray that's on here. I've got more than an hour left. I'm going to go ahead and put the second coat on here. Just get that done. Might need a third. Might have to just, I don't know, this might not work. I might end up just spray painting it all. Gray spray paint again and giving up on it. So when I put this painter's tape on this, it was, well, I don't want the paint to go on the back. Okay? I want that to raw plastic. And then all I'd have to do is mask the top of this once it's done, because this is already masked, right? And then I could go ahead and paint. Where did that come from? It doesn't even scrape off. No, that may or may not show under the metallic paint. So I thought this would be a shortcut. Every shortcut I've tried so far has failed. Every single one of them. Okay? The shortcut on this, the shortcut on the captain's chair. They've just all failed. The shortcut of painting this white without a primer, that was a big fail. So I'm taking long cuts now, and it's going okay, but it's taking a while. But another shortcut I thought was, well, I'll just use the painter's tape on this because it's raw plastic. It doesn't much matter. It's already covered in the back. this already covered under here. All I need to do is tape along this edge, spray it. But this painter's tape isn't holding up. It's just falling apart. And so I'm just going to take it off because if not, it's just pretty much just in the way right now. And I'm not going to be spraying any paint on this for a good long time. This is going to take a long time. So I'm just going to take this off, and when it comes time to spraying the deck, the control panel thing here, you know, I'll tape across the top, and I'll tape across here, and I'll probably like wrap the back in paper with maybe some painter's tape holding it or something. But again, it was a shortcut that ended up, it's ending up not saving any time. So it's not a shortcut. You know, it was an attempt at a shortcut. A failed attempt at a shortcut. That's the raw plastic. That's going to have to be primed. If I didn't have the tape on here, I would have just primed that white when I primed everything else. So actually my shortcut is actually turning into a long cut again, in that if this is all paint, that's white primer. Okay, if I hadn't had the tape on there, this would have already been primed when I painted the whole thing, but I didn't think of that. So now when I paint the bottom, I'm going to have to put primer on it. And then paint it. I mean, you're not going to notice it because that'll all be off camera. I can put the primer on and the coat on, you know, like on an off day. So there, my shortcut turned out to actually end up going to be taking more time. Not just having to retape all of this, but having to prime the part that I didn't prime because I taped this when I thought that my other shortcut, which was be painting the plastic without primer, would work. So this is a combination of two shortcuts, both of which are failures. Resulting in just having to do more work. So the next time I do something, next time I work on a model, I'm just going to avoid shortcuts altogether, because if I think, oh, this could be a shortcut, I now know in advance that it's not going to be. And I also learned that none of these paints really work on the raw plastic. They just don't. And so, you know, that shortcut effort taught me a lesson that I'll be able to use now. These all have little numbers on the back because they supposedly go in specific locations. Okay, well, there. I eliminated that shortcut. Oof, now I've got a mess here. I'm going to toss this, come back, put some great paint on stuff. Next week I will be back. I will be back at the regular time. I'll be planning to do 10 until 1 once again next week, because I will be finishing one way or another the staining of the wood that I'm staining. I'll be finishing that this weekend. Doesn't look good with yellow. this weekend, and then so next week I'll be going from 10 until 1, because I won't be doing a morning staining shift. I hope this looks okay with 2 coats on it, because it doesn't look good with 1. There's nothing like good old-fashioned shaking. Yeah, you use the fancy stirring thing there, and nothing substitutes just for that. Okay, well, let's have some relaxing, hopefully not making too much of a mess painting. It's weird. Sorry. Yeah. So I know the frames look really messy. There's just nothing. I mean, I tried to do this really neatly, to get the nice edges on there, and just failed. And so, acknowledging my failure, what I decided instead is to paint the frames and just go back and forth between the gray and the frame color until it looks okay. I don't know how many iterations it's going to take. Quite a few, probably. I've done that kind of thing before on a more limited scale. With the submarine, there was a floor. One of the floors of the submarine had a whole bunch of pipes on it. And what I tried initially was painting the pipes, the color they were going to be painted, and then taping over them, and then painting the floor. But the paint went through the tape, or got under the tape somehow. It didn't work. And so I ended up, having to do the back and forth, painted the floor first, and then painted the pipes and then painted the floor again where the pipe color got onto the floor too much. It only took like maybe 3 times back, and it wasn't that bad really. I mean, there were spots that needed to be painted, but they tended to be like just dots, tiny little dots of paint that went back and forth. The process actually took less time than I thought it would. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. I'm not going to bet on it, but it'll give a better result than I'm getting now. Hopefully. There's another one of these hairs. I think they're cat hairs. So yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun to, AI is supposed to increase productivity, right? That's the whole deal, is to do things that instead of, they say, well, no, I know they start out by saying, oh, it's going to replace all the humans, and then that got too scary, and there was kind of a reaction against that. What a surprise, like, oh great, we're all going to be unemployed and starving, except for like a few people who own the AI stuff. That wasn't very appealing. So, now the approach is that it's going to supplement humans rather than replace them, so that people can do more, productivity increase. At least that, that's the rhetoric now. At least that's the public rhetoric. The private rhetoric probably still is, we can get rid of all your pesky human employees using this AI thing. You don't have to have HR departments anymore. You don't have to mess around with group health insurance plans or 401ks. So not only, there's all sorts of add-on effects to that kind of thing, especially HR departments. Okay, I think HR departments should be shaken in their boots, because once robots replace all the employees, there's no need for them. I can just see this now, though, that we don't know how it's going to go. But what I was trying to say, what I was starting to say, is that, this big productivity thing, right? Because AI can replace people, or, if it's not replacing people, it can supplement people and make them more productive. So why not see if it can't do my monologue for me? Maybe it probably can't paint these parts for me, unless I had like a painting robot that was controlled by AI somehow. So I guess the relaxing painting part, or at least the painting part, if not relaxing, that would continue. But maybe it could do my monologue. What do you think? Should we ask AI to do that? You know, maybe not the full 3 hours. Maybe, a big chunk of it. Doing yeah. I could do it in anybody's voice too. I could get guest stars to do the monologue by, without asking their permission, having AI simulate their voices. So maybe I could have, I don't know, famous people come up with names. Could be like guest stars doing the monologue for the stream. We could have it, we could see what AI does, with maybe one I've already done before. It's like, hey, you, AI thing, do a 3-hour monologue. Do a 3-hour monologue about the destruction of the television antenna industry as a result of cable. And see what it comes up with. And then we could compare it to the one I did and see who did a better job. And if AI did a better job, well, it's just like, AI did a better job of doing a 3-hour monologue about the destruction of the television industry. Not the television antenna industry. Yep. As long as you don't check facts or anything, because, AI just makes stuff up. But it might be entertaining. Let's see how it does. I'll have to ask. Ask Alexis what she thinks of that idea. Of course, there's, I'm not sure how it would be attached to the stream. There might be some way of doing that. And we've made it clear that once AI responds to a request for that, that the intellectual property belongs to us, not to it. So, we can do whatever we want with the product of its whatever it comes up with. There. So there's a thing. There's something to think about, as a very famous cartoon character would have said. Well, it looks better with 2 coats than with 1. At least there's that. Let's see how this goes. On Monday, we'll see how it looks and decide whether it needs more paint on it or not. I'm hoping not. It's not that I mind doing that. It's not all that. It's just, the more I have to put coats on like that, the longer it takes to actually getting around to doing anything, assembly-wise. Well, it's not cleaning off. Come on, to me a paint. I'm swishing it in the here, like this. I learned that from Bob Ross. I don't know what kind of solvent Bob Ross used, but I know when it came time to clean the brush, all he did was he dipped it down onto something that was off camera, and you could hear it go. You can't hear it because of the filter on the microphone, but swished the brush around, and he pulled it out, and it was clean. He didn't even have to like hardly wipe it off or anything. So whatever he was swishing it in, boy, it ate that paint and took it away right away. This is just isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. And that, that worked okay. When I was a kid and I actually used paints, which wasn't until later when I first started building models. I didn't have paint, but later on I got some paint, and it was Testors enamel. And I don't remember what the solvent was, but boy, it wasn't water. Mineral spirits, maybe turpentine. We used to use turpentine a lot as a solvent. Okay, so these frames need to be painted a color. And the color needs to cover the gray. It needs to be opaque enough to cover the gray. Otherwise, take like 10 coats, right? So I'm going to find some options and see if they will cover that. I could actually use black. I mean, that is an option. It's not on the box top. The box top, the frames were white. Okay, very light color like that. But it is an option. Another option is metallic. Like silver, chainmail silver, gunmetal. I might just try all of those. This is I think this silver is too translucent. Ivory. I can see if that works. I don't want to use these brownish kind of colors. Can't use red. Blue isn't really appropriate, I don't think. Where'd the white go? Oh, the whites disappeared. Oh, there they are. There's dead white. And white, just the plain white isn't going to work. I know that. Well, let me try the ones that might work. So I'm hoping that something works. Otherwise I got a real mess on my hands. I tried the idea of just scraping the paint off and leaving it the regular plastic color, but this doesn't look too bad. But against the white and the gray, it just looked really, really dark. So this is dead white, which is very white. I don't know if it's white enough to cover this, though. You know, it might have with 2 coats. That's surprisingly opaque. It needs to be very opaque, though, because if it shows through at all, then the irregularities underneath it will show. But that is, you know, if I don't mind putting like 3 coats on, it might be possible. Ivory is slightly yellow. By itself, it's kind of yellow. But in application, I find that I use it more often than white for things like teeth and stuff like that, because it shows better. All of these have little plugs of paint on them. It's not too bad. That would require 2 coats also, but it might be too yellow. It might miss the point. You know, when it's next to another color, like but it's better than I thought it would be. So this is flat black. I have a glossy too, but it doesn't work as well. Yeah, see, black would work just fine. The other thing I need to test is coming back in the other direction. Does the gray cover the black? I think it would. And although it's just the opposite of the box top, the black might be the best choice. I'll find out. I'm going to use just these 3 metallics. 4 metallics. I've got 4 metallics. Let's see if any of them work. Well, I'm going to reject the ivory because it's just too yellow. Just not going to work. This is just silver. Just silver. Yeah, it's kind of translucent. And it's a nice color and all, but it wouldn't work unless the frames were all gray. Which they're not. This is chainmail silver, which is a little darker. Whoa, and it's squeezed out all over the place. That covers actually pretty well. It made a mess of itself. I just smashed the brush. Oh, sorry. I just made a huge mess. I smashed the brush into the microphone and then tried to clean it using the hand that was holding the brush and smashed it into the microphone even more. So I'm wiping paint off the microphone. I've got it all over my fingers. Okay, well, at least I waited till near the second half of the stream before I started getting paint all over my hands somehow. We'll see how this gunmetal looks. It might be too dark. It covers okay. Yeah, but it might work. It might work as like it's, oh, there's a metal frame. I mean, that might be okay. I'll have to keep that in mind. So this could go quite badly in many different ways. I'll just give you this example. So trying to make these frames not messy, right, is I don't mind if I get a little bit of paint onto the gray because I can come back with the gray paint and even it out. But if I get paint on the white, either on the inside or the outside, then I can't fix it. I mean, there's just practically no way to fix that. And so I'm going to be painting along the edge and keeping the brush right along the top like that. Hopefully having a fairly clean line on the outside of the frame, or in this case, the inside of the frame. I don't know. If it messes up, it'll be quite a mess. Well, the black and the gunmetal cover the best. The white, it dries really fast. The white is possible. The white would be the best if I can make it work, because if it does, it'll be really close to the outside color. Okay, and as such, any irregularities won't show that much. It dries really fast. I'm just going to put another coat on. I'm kind of curious to see how this would work. That's not bad. What is it, dead white? Yeah. I'm thinking 2 coats of dead white. I'm going to try that. Well, the plain silver isn't going to work. This other silver definitely wouldn't. The gunmetal is dark enough. And chainmail, I'll put a second coat of that on. The white just gives me more leeway, I guess I'll say, more room to deal with serious errors. I kind of like the metallic as an option, but yeah. So I'll try that on Monday, see how it goes. If it doesn't work, then I've got some problems. So I've got the 2 coats of white as an option. I've got black. I've got chainmail silver and gunmetal. Any of those 4, they're very different from each other, but any of those 4 would work. This one gives me the most room for error in terms of dealing with paint getting off onto the outer surface. I'm going to have to be just incredibly patient and careful painting these frames. Hopefully I will be able to be that. Hopefully I'll be able to be that. These other metallics, like this aluminum paint, I'm going to give it a try, but I'm pretty sure, well, the problem with this aluminum paint is that no, I'm not even going to bother. Just seriously, I'm just not going to bother, because it will be too translucent, and it also is very liquid. I mean, it's runny, and it'll run off the surface where I want it to be, onto a place I don't want it to be. That's trash. So it's going to be one of these 4, most likely the white. All right, so what is up? What is up? What is up? I could assemble some of these bits onto the circle, but I think I'm not going to. I'm going to recover this. I'm going to plan on painting this one of those 2 colors. I'm really running out of steam here. I think getting up early and staining a bunch of wood. Well, maybe that's the reason, is I ate breakfast. Probably shouldn't have. No, I know. I don't have to tape that over. I'm just going to put this on it. There. Put that there. So this will be painted one of the 2 colors that I picked that I put over here, the light blue or the light ghost gray. I'll do that over the weekend. And then the elevator doors, hopefully this will turn out fine. And the elevator doors will be done as well. I actually might be able to start putting some of these things on. I'm going to put this back here where I will forget it. Move the paint stuff out of the way. Put the brush out of the way. So on Monday, let's see if I need another coat of gray on these. We'll see how they look. If they look okay, then I'll start painting the frames. They're looking like they might be okay. I can start painting the frames, and I could actually do a little bit of assembly of the main viewing screen. I mean, the decal application, I could do that in a half hour. But what I'm going to do now, since it's getting on, is move these aside. And I've got these parts that are just a mess. They're chair bases and stanchions for the railings and the seats. I'm gonna do some prep work on these. I started on the bases, but boy, wow. I thought I'd been cleaning these up, but I didn't do a very good job when I started. The problem is the flashing around the bottom, where the plastic oozed out past the edge. And I was using a file on them, and that didn't seem to work very well. No, I'm just going to spend some time, a little time here, just cleaning up parts. These are taking a fairly long time because of the amount of surface area. And it doesn't look like much, but once they're painted metallic, the flaws like that will really show. There, it takes even longer when I flip it around and lose my place. Like this over and over again. Well, okay. What can I say? What I can say is, oops, I dropped it. All of these parts are going to be primed a dark gray color. These are going to be painted light gunmetal, which is the color I've used on the supports for the steps. Okay. And I also used it for the lunar excursion module. And I think I'll also be using it for the supports for the railings. And the railings are red. I might prime those with a white primer. I found that it takes several coats of red paint on the dark gray primer for it to look okay. Yeah, this is a good way to spend the last half hour because, yeah, I could either do that or do some assembly work, some decal application, that kind of thing. But this is just by far the safest thing to do. in terms of safe, meaning not making a major oops. I want to continue my speculation of using artificial intelligence to replace my monologue. You know, it's supposed to do that, isn't it? It's supposed to be able to do routine tasks. That's routine. It's supposed to be able to do miraculous things. So why couldn't it come up with enough material to do a 3-hour monologue, informative and somewhat amusing, I'll give it a simple task. Okay, I talked about the television antenna industry destruction when cable came out. But that might be too complicated. I'm going to start with something a little bit more straightforward. I would ask it to do a 3-hour monologue on how transistors destroyed the vacuum tube industry. It should be able to do that. It should be able to talk about how vacuum tubes were in everything, in televisions and radios and computers and, anything electronic, really. Radios and all of that. It should be able to talk about all of the people who made a living on vacuum tubes. Television repair people, drugstores that had vacuum tube testers right inside the door, prominently displayed, where you could go test your tubes and buy new ones, because the do-it-yourself sort of thing. People got, I can pull out a tube and test them. Don't have to call somebody to come to the house to change out a tube. Could talk about all of that. How it affected the glass industry, the vacuum pump industry, all of the side-on effects of something major, like when vacuum tubes suddenly just practically disappeared, and the consequences of that on the various and sundry economies. Yeah. Why not? Why shouldn't it be able to do that? If it's any good. So there's the thing. Now these look pretty straightforward. They just got sprue up there, but on each side, on one side, there are these little circles. See them? There's 1, 2, 3 on each one. So this whole side needs to be this side. So hey, the circles are on one side. So it's not just taking the little sprue thing off the top, which is straightforward and easy, but it's then sanding down not just the edges where a little bit of plastic flashed out, but getting rid of the circles, because you can see both sides of these when they become supports for the railings. This one's pretty shallow. It's hard to see the circles on this one. They're there. I can feel them. They'll be even more obvious when they're sanded. You'll see that in a bit when I start doing that. Boy, there's a lot of them. This is going to take a while to get that done. This is going to be as tedious as staining 7,000 pieces of wood. There weren't that many. It just felt like it. I think it was like 300 or something. A huge number. It was taking a long time. These are really obvious because this one has brown, some sort of stain in it. So I have to sand those off, and then I will have to use 1000 grit sandpaper to polish both sides to get the scratch marks off the side that I was using the coarser sandpaper on to get the circles to disappear, but then to match the surface texture, right? I wonder if those railings have circles on them too. And if they had sense enough to put the circles on the bottom where they wouldn't show. We'll be finding that out in a bit. Well, there's a lot of these. 16, I guess. Or probably just as well I got started on this. I'm not even going to get very far because the prep work, there's so much. If it was, just filing off the sprue attachment is one thing, but getting rid of these circles, that's going to be another thing altogether. Well, of course, it's another thing altogether. It's not doing what... That was just a dumb thing to say. It's one of those idioms, those idiom phrases, things that people say that if you take it literally, it just sort of doesn't make any sense at all. That's why translations become so difficult. It's because there's things like, oh, that's another thing altogether. It's like you translate that literally, and it's like, yeah, of course it's another thing, because it isn't this thing. It isn't. If it's not this thing, then it has to be another thing. So what is that even supposed to mean? Other than that, you're just stating the obvious. As opposed to, you might say, that would be a very different thing in that case. But we don't. We say it like that, and so that, in all the coming back into English from other languages, you have the same sort of thing. Translated literally, this means, and you go, that just doesn't make any sense at all. Or it's rude or something. So that was one of those things that if you translated it literally, it wouldn't seem necessarily dumb or anything. It would just seem like kind of meaningless. Like, of course, it's something else altogether. Okay, well, there's 16 of them. Yay. These are the bases for the for Sulu and Spock. I'm not going to need those for a while. Now let's see what the railings are like. That's the top of the railing. And yes, there are circles, but wow. There's like 6 sprue attachments on each one. Like massive overkill. Didn't want those falling off in the box. Yeah. So I'm thinking just so I don't end up having to use half a can of red paint to get these red, I'm going to use the white primer on these. Use the gray primer on those because it actually works pretty well with the metallic colors. But it does not work well with white or red. Yeah, this is sort of on camera. And do the final removal of these bits with sandpaper, even though it's on the edge. You know, maybe I'll file them down and then polish it. Because they're being pretty persistent. Okay, well, I'm getting a hand cramp. That doesn't help. The one I'm using to hold these. Yeah. I had intended, I keep saying this, I intended to have my monologue be about my experience with Star Trek when it first came out, because it came out when I was maybe in 6th grade, I think. And that's just been a failure. What I've been able to do is, but first the Tranya. You know, how many times can I, well, I could say it over and over, I suppose. How many times could I say it is, again, it's like, take that literally. How many times could I say that? Well, in the span of, say, one of these shortened 2-hour streams, but first the Tranya, is that about 4 seconds, 5 seconds? Say, call it 5 because the arithmetic is easier. Okay. So that means I could say it 15 times in a minute. No, that's not right. 12 times in a minute. There, I got my arithmetic better, right? 60 divided by 5 is 12, so I could do 12 in a minute. And what is that, 720 in an hour? It's 12 times 6 is 72 plus, yeah, 720, I could say. But first the Tranya is 720 times in an hour. And if I didn't take a break, you know, at all from saying, but first the Tranya, I could get... and 10, 2,160. Yeah. 2,000, I could get 2,160, but first the Tranya is in during the course of a stream. You know, I might get tired, I might take a sip of coffee or something. So let's just call it 2,000. I could get 2,000, but first the Tranyas in a stream. Yeah, would you want to hear that? I'm gonna guess not, but it's something that's possible. That could happen. It could be done. Altogether, probably bad idea, but nonetheless possible. Don't worry. Oh, maybe you should worry. You never know. I might try it. It's like I have nothing else to do. So I'm going to just say, but first the Tranya over and over and over again for the entire stream. And then what you should do is, just do it on YouTube. So not maybe you could do it while it's streaming live. Is count to see how many I'm actually saying. They put numbers on the chairs because there's no way you could possibly identify these for what they were when they came off the sprue. So these chairs are going to be a little bit of a disappointment because I can't get the seat backs right. If they were molded so that it's loose. Okay. I thought that was actually molded in. So the seat backs are supposed to have this curved black part like that. Black up on top, curved like that. And if that had been molded in, so if there was like a ridge there, then I could probably get that painted in. But there isn't. And freehanding that is going to be impossible for me. And it really, I can't say totally impossible. It would be extremely difficult. To the point of failure. The probability of failure is extremely high if I were to attempt to do that. So I'm going to do this like I did with the captain's chairs. I'm going to paint these gray with the gray primer and then tape it, mask it, so that the seat cushion stays that gray color, all around here. And then I'll paint the backs blue. Got a nice bright blue, not the light blue that might go on the elevator doors, but a nice bright blue. That'll probably look good there. I'm hoping these are the only parts. No, it's like this little ridge of plastic all the way around. And it's kind of hard to sand it off. Just that little bit of flashing that goes over the edge of through the gap between the two parts of the mold. Where the two parts of the injection mold come together. A little bit of plastic oozes out between them, and this makes this thin ridge, which would be really ugly if it was painted. I've had that happen where I didn't take it off. I didn't clean it off well enough. And then after it's painted, it just looks bad. Okay, I think I might be able to finish these chairs in the next 10 minutes. And get this done, get them done. And then I'll be back on Monday. On Monday I'll be back at 10. I'll be back to the... Sorry, my hand is cramping up from holding these parts. So I'll be back at the regular time starting Monday from 10 until 2. And what I'll be doing Monday is I'll check to see if I need to put another coat of gray on these panels, or whether it's okay the way it is. It looks like it's kind of a toss-up right now about whether more paint needs to go on there or not. I can't really tell yet. It's not dry completely. I don't want to really just keep piling paint on. It makes the next steps more difficult. And I'm fumbling around because my hand is kind of cramping up. So on Monday I'll be deciding whether to put more gray paint on those or whether they're okay as is. If they're okay as is, early in the stream I'm going to start painting the frames with, I'll make a decision based on my samples that I did today, but I'm leaning toward the dead white. At least I think I'll start with that. It's going to require 2 coats, which it doubles the opportunity for errors, right, by doing it twice. But I think it would look the best. And the type of error that would be most damaging would be getting that paint onto the white surface on the inside of the inner frame and the outside of the outer frame. And the white is going to show the least. So I'm going to start that, and just it'll be a test of the likelihood of being able to pull that off. And I'll do that for a while if it's working, until I start to lose focus a little bit, which inevitably happens, at which time then I will probably maybe apply some decals to the view screens, because those are painted and ready to go. And then go back to doing prep work on these near the end of the stream, because there's going to be a lot of sanding required on those. And that's kind of a good end of stream kind of thing to do. So that's the plan for Monday. I hope you all have a good weekend. I know I'll be having a working weekend. I need to finish the staining job that I've been working on all week this week, so that it's done by Monday. Or if it isn't done by Monday, there isn't a need for more than one of them, one batch. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to finish it. I hope there's enough stain. Right now it looks like it's going to be really close. Might have to send somebody out to get another can of stain. But yeah, that's the plan. I usually have I almost always have a plan for the next stream. And it turns out that usually I get part of what I was planning done. I don't recall that I've ever really gotten all of what I was planning done in the next stream. Seriously, from all the way back to when I was building the submarine even. I don't think there was a time when I got everything I was planning to do that the next stream done in the next stream. Sometimes I got none of it done. There have been numerous occasions, numerous just in the loosest sense of a number. There has been a number, which means some. There have been some occasions when I got none of it done because, say, I would unmask something that I had been painting and it turned out to be a disaster and it needed to be redone. Or I had made a disaster at the end of the previous stream and needed to redo that instead. That's happened. There have been a number. There have been some times when I've had to just redo something almost completely from scratch. On the Savoia and on the Lotus Ford. Oh yeah, remember the Lotus Ford? That's still not done because I'm waiting for the decals to arrive. They have been shipped. I'll probably wait to finish this before I go back to the Lotus Ford, though. Okay. So all of these have little circles on them like this. You can see that one because it's dark. That need to be sanded off. So I'll be rubbing those. These just need to be like cleaned up around the edges, which I don't have time to do today, so I won't try. And there, that's what's happening. Is I'm going to be I'm just going to leave these out because these need to be cleaned up. Don't have to worry about getting dust on them because I'll be getting sanding dust all over them. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching this. Be sure to catch our Dungeons and Dragons show, Dice and Dungeons. Okay. Our group Midnight Brunch is streams on Sundays at 2, or you can catch them on YouTube. Please do that. Support our show. Become a follower. If you're up to that, that would be cool. Become a subscriber on YouTube. You can go to patreon.com/DiceandDungeons and support us that way as well. I will be back on Monday at more or less 10 o'clock doing more or less painting, and we'll see how that all goes. Yeah, I'm tired. Have a good weekend. I'll see you Monday.